Good evening, TheoTrade. This is Corey Rosenblum. You're watching the Theo Nightly video for the 20th of July here in 2021, and we got ourselves a reflexive snapback rally. That's the bigger picture. We'll come to that in a second, but I did want to highlight this volume profile. It is the 30-minute S&P futures. Similar logic with the spiders, SPY, of course the SPX. Whenever we find ourselves under the profile, the probability favors a rally back inside the profile. And again, we find ourselves under the profile, and that rally occurred. That was targeted in last night's game plan, but we'll step outside the profile to the bigger picture. On the Nasdaq, we had a similar rally back inside the profile from beneath. And on the Dow mini futures, similar type of logic. That's a rally back inside from beneath and rally back inside from beneath into the Russell futures. That's the short-term frame. That's for us on the intraday trade frame, or very, very short-term 1 to 2 day swing trades, mainly using options on ETFs, and that would include the SPY. Now that's complete. Let's step it up to the bigger picture, because we did get our rubber band snapback. And before we look at the current market, let me just highlight this concept of the snapback. The market crept, and then pulled back. We tend to get this up rally snapback. A rally up, snapback. Persistent rally up, snapback. So what tends to happen after the snapbacks is a burst of buying, and that tends to occur on the 50-day moving average. So just going back to the last few examples of how this played out, same logic on the big picture. Now this again is the daily chart. It's not the intraday, it's daily. Big picture, higher time frame. When the market does get the snapback, again, we call these rubber band snapbacks, or I call them rubber band snapbacks. We got it, but we hinted in Thursday's video what might happen when we get down to this target area is a bounce. And that's the opposite side of the snapback. It is a continued bullish rally. This still remains an equity uptrend. The path of least resistance is to the upside. The easier trades, at least for outcomes and holding period and how quickly it occurs, is to the upside. It takes a lot longer to get a trade to the short side to play too much or pay out too much for the put side. But again, this is a short-term characteristic. This won't be the way it is forever, but it is currently the way we are playing the uptrend within the context of this rising parallel trendline channel or other components where the buys are favored off the lows. This will change once again, but the same situation occurs last time we were here. The market did not break down. The market did not break down, did not, and finally did not. And we're just comparing what's happened with what's happening now. In the S&P, that pullback was to roughly 42.11. In the Nasdaq, that was a little more narrow pullback, but to about 14,500. And the Dow mini futures, again, that key level we keep referencing is about 35,000 and just above the 33500 and roughly 34,000 in the Dow. Not quite as clean of an uptrend as the S&P. But here is where the weakness remains, and it's the Russell. The other indices are trending to the upside, but the Russell has stalled into a longer term, multi-month, almost all of 2021 into a trading range. That makes the high roughly 2325 or 2350, and the low just about 2100 or 2150. Now this is the same logic with which we use volume or market profile type of logic, that the sells are favored above, that's your shorts, your puts, and the longs are favored beneath. And that's to go back and go return to the mean reversion at its best. Playing short from above the profile or the range back to the middle. And again, that's very, very short-term trade techniques. The videos here in Theo tend to focus on short-term techniques and what's working in the market right now. And that would be a bounce. Outside the equity market, we did see that pullback in crude, similar type of logic, similar type of pullback, which is very violent, as we saw in March. Again, overbought, snap, rubber band. and then the overbought snap, rubber band. Again, in terms of your trading techniques, I can't tell you how to trade, but if playing the short side or the fade side or the counter trend side, that requires patience to get these 2 or 3 or 4 days where the market goes straight down. That's what's happened. But on the long side, the risk reward is the opposite, which case you're going to be long, bullish, 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 but at some point the market pulls the rug and you can lose all your gains if you're not careful. So depending on how you perceive or how you're trading the market, the long side has risk of sudden yank backs or rug pulls, and that took crude from 75 to 65, similar to 65 to about 56, 57. But other than that, it's been creep to the upside. And as we discussed in Thursday's video, crude tends to correlate positively or go in the same direction as the equity market. And we can see that via the S&P. The bond market, we look at TLT, and that did push up. That has rallied up, but it came down in today's session after gapping higher and reversing. So the equity rally took place on a declining bond market. And that, of course, is looking at the 30-year Treasury bond and the ZN, which is the 10-year Treasury note. These upside targets have been achieved, and we'll monitor or frame positions off of this current 200-day simple. That will be bearish beneath, bullish above. Be careful with the bond market as it is right now. It is continuing to get stronger. And gold, again, not a whole lot to discuss in gold because it does have a little choppier of a trend. It's not quite as correlated with the other markets. It still is in a downtrend, but it's a volatile and whippy and choppy downtrend. It doesn't really have the same structure as the other markets. Now, Netflix is reporting earnings after the bell, so that will be something to watch in the evening after this video goes out. You'll know what the Netflix earnings are, but in terms of today's session, checking on the sector performance, the financials were among the strongest, but the strongest was energy. The strongest was industrials, and those are coming off of support lows at 100, similar to an extent as the Russell 2000. Other than that, staples, as one might expect, was flat on a very, very bullish equity session. Utilities were among the weakest, second weakest, but again, these are defensive sectors. You'd expect them to underperform the market on a strong up day. And what is strong, again, financials, to an extent industrials, discretionary, technology, and a little bit of energy. Finishing up the video, just looking at our scan tab, with stocks making new 52-week highs. The usual suspects may have slipped off the list. That includes Apple and Google and the others, but we'll just sneak a couple of glances at these daily charts. Here is the list. I always go off of a watch list, and I sort by market cap. I want to focus my interest on the bigger names, not so much the lower names. I don't trade those. I typically stay within the S&P 100 for short-term swing trades. But these are candidates that are strong, getting stronger, and give potential trade setups on a pullback or retracement. That is a way to mitigate risk or manage risk, not buying the all-time high, but using these stocks as candidates for future bullish trades. Oracle, similar play, similar flags as it continues higher. Danaher is a stock that sneaks up to new highs. Costco, which is a retail name that's helping to boost some of the retail products or retail sectors. Costco continues to trade to new highs. And we'll finish up with, on the other list, Target. Target closed very high on today's session. And again, financial names were among the leaders. That included Wells Fargo, but those are pushing up off of support levels, not necessarily making new highs. As always, be careful and safe. Note the bigger picture, note the bigger uptrend. And it continues to remain in force until proven otherwise, and the proven otherwise would be a break and shatter and crush under 4,200. This is Corey Rosenblum with tonight's Theo video update for July 20th, 2021.